Imagine waking up one day with a disturbing realization. The life you've been living doesn't truly feel like your own. That the choices you've made, the beliefs you carry, and even the desires that motivate you may not have come from your deepest self, but from expectations, conditioning, and invisible forces shaping you from the outside. Think about it for a moment. How much of who you are is genuinely authentic, and how much is a carefully assembled persona molded by pressure, approval, and fear? How often does it feel like you're simply performing a role, following a script written by society, your upbringing, or the quiet anxieties that linger in the background of your mind? Today, we begin an exploration into one of Carl Jung's most profound insights, the idea that life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. But what does that really mean? Is it just about self-awareness, or is there something far deeper, far more transformative happening beneath the surface? Stay with me, because as we uncover the unseen forces shaping your identity, you'll begin to understand why most people never truly find themselves, and how you can break free. The final realization we'll explore is the most powerful of all. It has the ability to reshape not only how you see yourself, but how you engage with the world itself. Carl Gustav Jung was a pioneer of depth psychology, a thinker who ventured far beyond conventional theories of the mind to explore the hidden realms of the unconscious. Unlike many psychologists of his era, Jung didn't believe mental health was simply about adapting to social norms. Instead, he viewed psychological growth as a journey toward individuation, the process of becoming one's most authentic self. Yet here's the reality: most people never embark on that journey. They remain confined within identities shaped almost entirely by external influences. They live by expectations, rarely questioning whether the life they're living truly reflects who they are. They chase validation, believing happiness lies in approval, success, or belonging. And yet, beneath it all, there's often a quiet unease, a persistent sense that something is missing. Jung believed real life begins only when we stop running from ourselves. But to understand what it truly means to find yourself, we must first understand what prevents most people from ever doing so. From the moment we enter the world, we are conditioned. We are given names, labels, roles, and rules. We're taught what's acceptable and what isn't, what earns praise and what brings punishment. This conditioning happens so gradually that we rarely question it. We adapt, we conform, and over time, we suppress the parts of ourselves that don't fit the mold placed upon us. Think back to your childhood. Were there moments when you expressed yourself freely, only to be met with criticism or dismissal? Maybe you were told to be practical, to stop being too sensitive, or that certain emotions weren't appropriate. Slowly, you learned to hide those parts of yourself, to lock them away. And in doing so, you began constructing a mask, what Jung called the persona. The persona is the face we show the world. It helps us function in society, navigate relationships, and gain acceptance. But here's the danger: the more we identify with this mask, the more disconnected we become from our true nature. Eventually, we forget it's a mask at all. We mistake it for who we are, losing touch with what lies beneath. And on the other side of this mask exists the shadow. If the persona represents what we reveal, the shadow contains what we conceal. It holds everything we've rejected: our fears, unexpressed desires, vulnerabilities, and even hidden strengths. And here's the crucial part: the shadow doesn't disappear simply because we ignore it. It operates quietly beneath the surface, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and emotional reactions. The traits we deny don't vanish. They emerge unconsciously, often through projection. Have you ever felt an intense dislike toward someone without fully knowing why? Or been deeply triggered by behaviors in others that provoke a strong emotional response? Jung believed that what disturbs us most in others often reflects something hidden within ourselves. But what if the shadow isn't the enemy? What if the parts of yourself you've ignored or suppressed are actually the missing pieces of your wholeness? Jung's insight was profound. Psychological growth doesn't come from eliminating the shadow, but from integrating it, from facing what you've denied and bringing it into awareness. When you do, you unlock a deep source of authenticity, strength, and freedom. This is where the real journey begins. Are you willing to confront the truth of who you are, to dismantle the illusions that have shaped you? Because what comes next will challenge everything you think you know about yourself and open the door to a life that is truly your own. Most people move through life convinced they already know who they are. They define themselves by their name, career, culture, or past experiences. But what if that identity is only a surface construct? What if it represents just a fraction of something far deeper? Jung believed every individual contains an expansive inner world filled with forgotten memories, suppressed emotions, unacknowledged desires, and untapped potential. Finding yourself isn't about creating a new identity. It's about uncovering what has been buried within you. Have you ever felt an unexplained longing for something more? A sense that a greater version of yourself is waiting to emerge? That feeling isn't imagination. It's the unconscious calling you forward. Jung called this process individuation, the integration of all aspects of the self. True fulfillment, he believed, comes not from conformity but from wholeness. Yet this is where most people stop, because facing yourself is uncomfortable. It requires questioning long-held beliefs, confronting fears, and acknowledging inner conflict. That's why we avoid silence, why we drown ourselves in work, entertainment, and constant distraction. These aren't accidents, they're defenses, ways to avoid the deeper questions waiting beneath the surface. But avoidance doesn't make those parts disappear. They resurface as anxiety, self-sabotage, unfulfilling relationships, or a persistent sense of emptiness. Jung believed the unconscious is always communicating with us, we've just learned not to listen. When we do begin paying attention, patterns emerge. We see how wounds influence choices, how suppressed desires shape behavior, and how the things we fear most often carry our greatest lessons. Take fear of rejection. Many people live in constant fear of judgment or abandonment. They seek approval, avoid conflict, and silence their truth to keep the peace. But where does that fear really come from? Is it truly about others, or is it rooted in an old wound, perhaps from childhood, where they felt unseen or unworthy? Jung would say this fear is a shadow aspect, and until it's acknowledged, it will quietly control behavior from behind the scenes. But when these hidden parts are finally faced, they lose their grip. Imagine living without the weight of judgment, speaking honestly, choosing paths aligned with your inner truth rather than external expectations. This is the power of individuation, not becoming someone new, but becoming more of who you already are. Jung believed one of the most powerful ways to access the unconscious is through dreams, symbols, and introspection. Dreams, he said, are messages from the deeper self. Creative expression, art, writing, music also opens doors to hidden layers of the psyche. But above all, awareness is the key. The moment you begin questioning your thoughts, reactions, and beliefs, transformation has already begun. When you stop running from discomfort and start approaching it with curiosity, you reclaim your true self. Most people live as strangers to themselves, following paths laid out for them, never realizing they can choose differently. But you don't have to. You can shed conditioning, release fear, and step fully into who you are unapologetically. In the next part, we explore something even deeper, the archetypes within you, ancient patterns buried in the psyche that shape behavior, desire, and destiny. What you're about to learn may permanently change how you see yourself. Jung believed these archetypes, like the hero, the shadow, the mentor, the child, are universal psychological blueprints stored in the collective unconscious. They appear across myths, religions, stories, and dreams because they exist within all of us. The hero, for example, represents your drive toward purpose and growth. But every hero must face the shadow, the fears and weaknesses blocking evolution. This inner battle plays out whenever you know change is necessary, yet fear or self-doubt holds you back. Transformation doesn't happen by suppressing the shadow, but by learning from it. Jung also spoke of the anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine energies within every person. These aren't about gender, but balance, intuition and logic, emotion and structure, creativity and discipline. When these forces are rejected, imbalance arises. When embraced, they become sources of strength. To find yourself, Jung believed you must accept all aspects of your being, the light and the dark, the known and the unknown. Individuation is not about perfection, it's about wholeness. And finally, we arrive at the deepest illusion of all, the illusion of a fixed self. Most people assume they are a single, unchanging identity. But Jung understood something radical. The self is fluid, ever-evolving, far greater than the ego that clings to labels and fears. The ego isn't the enemy, it's simply the structure that creates separation. But when you mistake it for your entire being, you feel limited. In truth, you are far more expansive than any identity you've adopted. When you loosen your grip on who you think you are, infinite possibilities open. Jung's path forward was clear. Embrace the unknown, release rigid labels, listen to the unconscious, and surrender to the process. Finding yourself isn't a destination, it's a lifelong unfolding. And here's the ultimate realization. You were never truly lost. The self you've been searching for has always been within you, waiting to be remembered. The choice is yours. Continue living as a fragment shaped by fear and illusion, or step into the vast, limitless being you were meant to become. Because life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. Thanks for listening.